Suppose you have 5 stocks in a portfolio which you've purchased at different dates and using different amounts to invest. And you'd like to do some comparison to see which ones are performing the best. So, what you can do, one way you can do that is just to look at the total dollar gain. That's the current value minus the initial investment. And you can see you made quite a bit of money in stock A, and we'll just copy that formula down. And you've made some money in stock B and stock D, and you've got a couple that have lost money here. So should you jump up and down and say A is way better than B? Okay, it's 7, almost 8 times higher. So no, that's not a really fair way to do the comparison. You could also look at the percentage, total percentage return, which would be the current value divided by the initial investment minus 1. And you can see you got, again, a nice return here, and here it's not nearly as good as it is in A, and then stock C and E lost money, stock D has a positive return. But these aren't really fair comparisons. Why? Because, while the return might be a little bit better than looking at just the dollar gain because you have different amounts invested, it's not fair because you've held these for different time periods. Stock A you bought in January of 2000, stock B you bought in March of 2018. So while you've gotten a much bigger total return here than you have with B, you've also held it for 18 years longer. So that's not a fair comparison. A better comparison is to look at the annualized return. We can get the annualized return by taking the current value, dividing it by the initial investment, and then raising it to the power of the 1 divided by the number of days divided by 365, and then subtracting 1. So how are you going to get the number of days from, let's say, January 2nd of 2000 to today? All right, you don't really want to have to calculate and count those days, but fortunately, Excel has a function, and the function is today, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and let's just subtract this original date, and we get 8,887 days. Now, you have to make sure it's formatted correctly. If you're formatted, for example, as a date, you're going to get this. And this is not what you want. You want to just click the comma here, and it's going to give you the date. And let me just get rid of those decimal places here. So 8,887 days. So let me copy this down here. And now that we have this, we can input this formula here so that we can do the calculation. So let's see here. Okay, I've got the current value divided by the initial investment, and then I want to raise it to the power of 1 divided by the number of days divided by 365, and I think I need 2 parentheses there, and then I'm going to subtract 1 here, and let's see if that works. 6.75%. Let's copy that formula down, and let's see what we get here. Oh, it actually turns out that B has done better. Okay, an annualized return of 9.83% versus an annualized return of 6.75%. Again, because you've held it for so much shorter a time period, this is a much fairer comparison. And then you can also look at the losses and things like that. Okay, here you didn't lose as much money, so actually here you didn't hold it for very long, and you lost a reasonable amount of money, so you have the biggest negative loss here. But the two that are really of interest here are A and B. You can see that while A had a much bigger total return, than B, okay, and a much bigger dollar return, it has a much lower annualized return. So this is the appropriate way to compare different investments.